Many games are said to be influential, launching or saving companies. But some games are literal forks in how gaming evolves. And if they had never been made, everything would look different. I'm going to look at games like this that changed everything and give you a glimpse of the time branch where that game was never made. But first, I want to talk about a very related product, Dollar Shave Club. This is something I use every day, as you can see. Did you know there are about 1,000 studies where women were found to prefer men with facial hair? Subscribe to Dollar Shave Club and leave all the women to me. You don't need them. You need that split chin to be smooth like a baby's butt. Today, Super Smash Bros. Is a standard, reliable game that will come every console generation. It is a concept so obvious and natural, it is hard to imagine a world where it never happened. But it almost didn't. Nintendo was, and in many ways, still is very protective of their characters. So Masahiro Sakurai knew he would meet with heavy resistance proposing a game where Mario could repeatedly punch Pikachu and be stabbed by Link. He began working on the game against the executive's wishes, finally revealing the game when it was as fun, respectful to the characters, and as complete feeling as you could make it without a full team. Ultimately, Nintendo came around and saw promise in his project, and allowed it to go forward, and upon its quick success, begged him to immediately begin work on a sequel for the GameCube. If Miyamoto felt particularly sensitive about Mario that day, he could have thrown a fit and prevented the game from getting released. The entire Smash Bros. Line wouldn't exist, and its impact would have never been made. It's very unlikely Mother 3 would have finally come out in Japan if Ness wasn't given a second chance in Smash Bros. At the time of Smash Bros. Release, Earthbound was truly a niche game. Smash Bros. Elevated it to cult status. Captain Falcon would have never left his Blue Falcon and become the king of memes. Without Smash Bros., there would be very few great memes to unite the internet. But we aren't here for that. Without Smash Bros., Fire Emblem would have never left Japan, and would have died long before Awakening could do anything to save it. And without Fire Emblem going international, few other heavily Japanese games would have been localized. Without the trophies, Custom Rebel would probably not have made the jump, and we'd never know the tragedy of the franchise's death. It's possible Metroid might have fallen into obscurity, if not sustained and kept relevant through Smash Bros. No Metroid Prime, no Metroid Fusion. Kid Icarus would be long forgotten without Smash Bros. Sonic may not have become an honorary Nintendo character after Sega's exit from the console game. It's possible esports, whether you like them, hate them, or like me, don't usually care, would be very unknown without the competitive Melee community developing over a series with a low barrier of entry and wide appeal. Fewer fans would dig into Nintendo's past and keep obscure IPs known. Without Sakurai's meticulous attention to detail, fan games like Shovel Knight might have never been conceived. The GameCube might have done much worse without Melee at its launch. Without Smash Bros. Paving the way for crazy crossovers, Tatsunoko vs. Capcom may have never ever been made in Japan, let alone localized. Even Marvel's movie franchise might be much more separated and less connected. Without the straightforward, easy-to-learn controls of Smash Bros. Capcom probably wouldn't have had the GameCube control scheme in Capcom vs SNK, and the simplified controls in Tatsunoko vs Capcom, if by some miracle it happened in that world. Pokken probably wouldn't have happened either, at least in any recognizable form. But without the relationship built with Namco in making Smash Bros., Pokken never existing is far more likely. There wouldn't be amiibos in any successful form. Without Cloud, there might be a world where Final Fantasy 7, 9, 10, and 12 are coming. There would be no discussion of whether the Switch may get ports of other Square games like Final Fantasy 15 or 8. Heck, there might not be anybody to take Nintendo seriously with the Switch, assuming Nintendo would go with that concept. While some IPs would have never existed, surely others we will never know of would exist in this other branch of time. The Switch might not have happened with these other IPs. I can guarantee you Ice Climber would not have launched with Nintendo Switch Online. K. Rool would have stayed an obscure relic of the past without any shot of return as DK's nemesis. And we would have never gotten this rap remix of Gangplank Galleon. Without Simon and Richter, Konami probably would not be re-releasing any Castlevania games. Metal Gear might not have returned to Nintendo on the 3DS, or even the GameCube, without Kojima begging Sakurai to include Snake in Super Smash Bros. Hyrule Warriors probably would not have happened if one-off characters like Sheik weren't kept relevant, and there wasn't a precedent for fans wanting to see multiple incarnations of Link, Ganon, and other characters interacting. And of course, that means no Linkle. Also, there would be no Rivali, or at least not the one we know and love, as a bootleg version of Falco. It is even possible the Pokemon remakes may have been partly inspired by the desire to realize Saffron City and Kanto closer to how it was represented in Smash Bros. Although the anime probably also played a role in that desire as well as a lack of connectivity. Mega Man 11 likely would not have happened. If Smash Bros. Hadn't shown Capcom people still cared despite their antics and attempts to ruin the name of Mega Man. It probably added a small amount of momentum to Xenoblade's rise. The sun would never have risen again on Golden Sun, due to the fan ballot bringing Isaac out of the abyss of forgotten Nintendo characters in the tiniest concession of tiny concessions. The fanbase would not be as united today as they are. Every community forged around seeing a character become playable would not exist. The relationships built and hope would not exist. All hope would be divided for any lapsed franchise. And none of the memes from these communities would exist. My channel would not exist as a gaming channel either. Each of these changes would echo down, changing exponentially more and more things with each passing moment. And of course, we wouldn't have PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale, which is a huge pro for that world I wish we all could have been blessed with. I suppose it is a fair price to pay for all the other things Smash has blessed with. Can you think of any other major differences that would have been likely in a world without Smash Bros? Maybe the game has impacted you, or someone impacted by the series has left a mark on who you are. Or do you disagree with anything I said and think some of these things would have remained the same?